The morning light of Halcyon 9 filtered through the lattice of crystal branches, casting fractured rainbows across the marble courtyard. Commander Elias Rourke had seen alien worlds before, but nothing like this, where architecture and nature intertwined, where the air smelled faintly of ozone and honeyed mist. His breath fogged as he approached the Queen's garden, the hush of alien guards' armor echoing in rhythm with his own heartbeat. The report said the Queen's handmaiden was in distress. It was supposed to be a trivial diplomatic errand. But as he turned the final archway, he froze. The woman before him was not merely weeping. She looked shattered, her skin pale blue like fractured porcelain, tears streaking down like liquid mercury under the alien sun. Her eyes, deep crimson, met his briefly before darting away, shame crossing her angular features. Her armor glimmered gold, the ornate plating too regal for a mere servant. Elias hesitated, torn between respect and concern. He had been warned not to touch the Queen's attendants. Yet the sight of her trembling hands, clutching at her breastplate as if holding herself together, broke through protocol. "Are you injured?" he asked softly, his voice low, carrying across the still air. The maid flinched as if struck. Her reply came halting, her accent strange but graceful. "Not injured. Not in body." Her voice cracked like glass under tension. "You should not be here, Terran." His name was not spoken with disdain but with fear. Elias took a careful step closer. Behind her, vines hung heavy with silver blossoms, their scent hypnotic and slightly electric. He could feel static brush across his fingertips. "If someone's hurt you, if anyone's forcing you," he began, but she raised a trembling hand, palm outward. "No," she said, almost pleading. "No one forced me. It was my choice. But choices have costs." She turned slightly, and he saw it then. Fine hairline fractures glowing beneath her collarbone, spreading slowly across her chest like cracks in frost. They pulsed faintly, as though each heartbeat risked breaking her apart. Elias's training screamed for restraint. His human instinct screamed to act. He reached into his field kit for a med scanner, but her sudden intake of breath stopped him. "That device, please. If you use it, the walls will listen." Her words confused him until he realized what she meant. Surveillance. Even in the Queen's gardens, they were being watched. The alien empire prized secrets above all, and whatever afflicted this woman was one of them. He pocketed the scanner. "Then talk to me. Off record." She looked at him as though testing his sincerity. "Humans always think words fix wounds," she murmured, almost to herself. "But your kind has strange mercy." A pause followed. Then, "My name is Sereth. I serve Queen Kalin. Or I did." The admission carried finality. Elias knelt slightly, bringing himself to her level. "Sereth," he said, testing the alien syllables. "Why were you crying?" For a heartbeat, she didn't answer. Then, with a tremor, she said, "Because I betrayed her, and because she loved me for it." The words sent a chill through him deeper than the planet's cold light. Love and betrayal between the alien monarch and her maid? Impossible, yet something in Sereth's voice made it undeniable. Elias's mission brief had warned of fractures within the royal court, but no report could have captured the raw ache in those words. "What did you do?" he asked quietly. Her cracked skin glowed brighter. "I taught her what it means to be human." The phrase struck him like a weapon. Humanity was forbidden knowledge here. Terrans were tolerated envoys, not teachers. Yet this maid spoke of teaching emotion, as if she had risked her life for it. A tremor rolled through the marble beneath them. Sereth gasped and clutched her chest, stumbling. Elias caught her before she fell, his gloved hand meeting her cool skin. For an instant, the world seemed to shiver, visions flickering in his mind. Alien cities burning under twin suns, a queen weeping as crystalline towers collapsed. He staggered back. "What was that?" he whispered. Sereth straightened weakly. "Memory echo," she said. "My punishment. To remember forever what I broke." The guards in the distance shifted uneasily but did not approach. Elias realized they feared her as much as they guarded her. "You're dying," he said, reading the slow spread of fractures. "Unless I can help." Sereth looked past him toward the horizon, where the queen's palace gleamed like molten glass. "You cannot help me," she said, sadness softening her tone. "But you can understand. And maybe, if the stars favor you, you can forgive." He didn't understand, not yet. But he nodded anyway. "Then tell me everything." Her gaze softened, and she whispered, "Once, I was not a maid. I was chosen from birth to be her shadow, her mirror in mind and form. We shared thought, dream, even heartbeat, until your species came." Elias stayed silent, letting her words unfurl. "When humans arrived," she continued, "the queen studied you. She saw your grief and your defiance. She said you were dangerous because you loved without reason. I disagreed. I said you were dangerous because you hoped." She touched her chest, near the fracture lines. "I showed her that hope, and that broke us both." The sound of distant chimes interrupted, an alien bell announcing court summons. Sereth turned sharply, fear flashing in her eyes. "They cannot see us together." "Go," she urged. Elias hesitated. "I can't just leave you here." "Please," she begged, voice trembling. "If they find you, they will unmake me sooner." Against every instinct, he stepped back into the shadow of the archway. She looked at him one last time, her lips parting in something like gratitude. "Commander," she whispered, "if you truly wish to help, find what the queen hides beneath the cathedral of glass. There lies the truth of me, of her, of what you humans are to become." Before he could ask more, she pressed her fingers to her temple, and in a shimmer of blue light, she was gone. Elias stood alone among the singing vines, the scent of ozone thicker now. Beneath his boots, the marble trembled faintly as if echoing her vanishing. His wristcom flickered to life, a terse voice crackling through. "Commander Rourke, report. The queen is expecting you in audience." He glanced once more at the spot where Sereth had stood, then at his reflection in the mirrored marble. His face pale, his eyes uncertain. "On my way," he said quietly, though his pulse thundered in his ears. As he walked toward the palace, he could not shake the feeling that the maid's tears were not of sorrow alone, but of prophecy. The corridors of the alien stronghold wound like veins of crystal and shadow. Light traveled through translucent walls in slow pulses, breathing like living matter. Elias's reflection fractured endlessly as he walked. At the entrance to the throne chamber, two sentinels in iridescent armor lowered halberds in unison. Their visors mirrored his image back at him, faceless and cold. "Commander of Terra," one intoned, "her radiance awaits." The doors parted with a sigh. Inside, Queen Aarcaelin stood beside a column of pure light, her gown woven from metallic strands that flowed like water. Her beauty was severe, mathematically perfect, yet her crimson eyes held storms within. "You are late," she said, her voice resonant, carrying authority that pressed against his chest. "Forgive me, your majesty," he said with practiced diplomacy. "I was detained by one of your attendants." The queen tilted her head, studying him. "Which?" she asked. "Sereth," he replied, carefully neutral. Her expression flickered, barely perceptible, but there. "Sereth no longer exists," she said finally. "She has been returned to the light." Elias caught the double meaning, executed or something worse. "I'm sorry to hear that," he said softly. "She spoke highly of you." The queen's gaze sharpened. "She spoke to you?" For a moment, the light around her dimmed, and Elias felt the weight of an ancient intelligence measuring him. He chose his words with care. "Only briefly." She seemed remorseful. The queen turned away, her reflection stretching in the column's glow. "Remorse is a human weakness," she murmured. "And yet, it spreads, like a contagion." She looked back at him suddenly. "Tell me, Commander, do you love your world?" The question caught him off guard. "Of course," he said. "Then you understand loyalty, and the cost of betrayal." Her words echoed Saratha's confession almost exactly. Elias realized this was no coincidence. Saratha's betrayal, he said quietly, was love. The queen's expression softened. Not anger, but sorrow. Then perhaps she taught you what I could not, she said. That love, too, is a weapon. A silence stretched between them, heavy with unspoken truths. Finally, the queen gestured toward the beam of light. This is the heart of our world, she said. It sings to the stars, binding us to the collective mind. Yet it is faltering. The column flickered faintly, its rhythm uneven. You humans call it a machine. We call it our soul. Elias felt awe and dread mingling. And you want my help, he guessed. Perhaps, she said. Or perhaps I wish to understand why your kind stands apart. Why even now, when death is certain, you cling to defiance. Her gaze held his, searching for something deeper. Tell me, Terran, what did Sarath see in you? He hesitated, unsure how to answer. Maybe she saw that we don't give up on the broken, he said at last. The queen regarded him in silence, then stepped closer. The faint scent of starlight and rain surrounded her. Then perhaps she was right, she said softly. Perhaps there is still something in you worth saving. Her words were almost tender, but before Elias could respond, the light in the chamber flared violently. The queen's expression changed, alarm flashing across her perfect face. The heart is failing faster than expected, she whispered. Then, almost to herself, Sarath, what did you do? The floor trembled as alarms rippled through the palace. Elias instinctively reached for his sidearm, though it would mean little against such forces. The queen turned to him, crimson eyes blazing. Commander, if you wish your people to live, follow me. She strode toward the inner corridor, light flaring around her like wings. Elias followed, his mind spinning. Somewhere beneath the palace, the cathedral of glass waited, and the truth the maid had died to protect. The corridors beneath the palace breathed with light and sound, veins of energy pulsing along crystalline walls like a living organism. Elias followed Queen Aarkalin through the shifting labyrinth, his every step echoing against floors that seemed to hum in disapproval. He had expected cold grandeur, but there was something almost sorrowful in these halls, architecture designed not for function but for memory. The queen's pace was swift, her metallic gown whispering with each movement. Behind them, alarms faded into silence as if the palace itself bowed to her command. The heart connects us all, she said without turning. When it falters, our thoughts fragment. Our unity dies. Elias kept his tone neutral. And you believe humans caused it? Her lips curved faintly. No. I believe one of us did by trying to become one of you. They reached a descending staircase spiraling around a shaft of white light. The air grew colder, heavier, tinged with ozone. Elias's breath fogged as he followed her down. You mean Sarath, he said. The queen's shoulders stiffened. She was more than she appeared, she replied, and less than she desired. At the base of the stairway lay a vast chamber, its ceiling lost in luminescent mist. In the center floated a crystalline monolith suspended by invisible force, its surface fractured like frozen water. Threads of light bled from the cracks, weaving through the air like ghosts. The queen approached it reverently. The heart of Emwerar, she said softly. Every thought, every memory of my people flows through this. It is our past and our purpose. Elias stared, awed despite himself. It's beautiful, he murmured. It's dying, she corrected. Elias circled the structure slowly, scanning the air currents, the faint hum beneath his boots. I can't fix something I don't understand, he said. Explain it to me. The queen hesitated, then turned to face him fully. The heart was designed to preserve perfection, emotionless order, eternal harmony. But Sarath touched it with your kind's imperfection. She taught it longing. Elias frowned. You're saying she made your world feel? Yes, Aarkalin said simply. And now it cannot bear the weight of its own heart. For the first time, her voice trembled slightly. Tell me, Commander, How do you live with such chaos inside you? Elias met her gaze. We don't conquer it, he said. We learn from it. A shudder rippled through the chamber. The monolith's glow faltered, and a high-pitched resonance filled the air, like a scream buried in light. Arcalen pressed her hands to the heart, her armor flaring with gold. It's unraveling, she hissed. Saratha's memory echoes within it, infecting every thread of thought. Elias's instincts surged. Then isolate it, he said, like quarantining corrupted data. The queen gave a humorless laugh. You speak of containment as if emotion obeyed logic. Still, she looked intrigued. How would you do it? Elias scanned his wrist console. If it's networked, we can partition its field using an interference pulse. Create a feedback inversion around the corrupted lattice. She studied him for a long moment. Primitive, she murmured. But possible. Her hands moved in graceful arcs, summoning tendrils of light that formed a geometric sphere around the heart. Elias synchronized his device with her energy field, the interface trembling under the alien frequency. Sweat beaded on his brow. Now, he said, when I give the signal, amplify the outer frequency by 10%. That'll cage the echo long enough to trace it. The queen nodded once. Begin. The pulse detonated silently, a wave of blue light cascading through the chamber. The heart flared, then dimmed, flickering like a dying star. Elias adjusted his console, tracing the interference patterns until a secondary resonance appeared. A heartbeat within the heart. There, he shouted. That's it. That's her imprint. The queen's eyes widened as an image coalesced within the crystal. Sarath, radiant and broken. Her hand pressed to her chest where the fractures glowed like embers. Her voice echoed faintly. Forgive me, my queen. I only wanted you to feel the dawn. The queen staggered back, her composure fracturing. She left herself inside it, she whispered. A living echo. Elias stared, realization dawning. She sacrificed herself to keep it alive. No, Arcalen said bitterly. She doomed it to death. The heart's glow pulsed faster, light rippling outward in chaotic waves. Elias steadied his console, but the readings spiked beyond scale. It's overloading, he shouted. We have to shut it down. The queen's hands trembled. To shut it down is to kill my people. To leave it is to let them all burn. Elias countered. Their eyes met across the light storm, human defiance against alien devotion. For an instant, she looked at him not as a subject, but as an equal. She closed her eyes. Then teach me, human. Teach me how to choose. Elias hesitated, then said, You don't choose who dies. You choose who lives after. Her gaze softened. Then save them. Together they plunged their hands into the heart's field. Energy seared through him, visions flooding his mind. Endless skies of crystal, the laughter of beings made of light, Saratha's face smiling through tears. He screamed, but the queen's voice anchored him. Hold, Elias, she commanded. He felt her mind brush his, immense, luminous, grieving. You're linked to me, he gasped. I must be, she said. You cannot bear the burden alone. The heart's light swelled until it blinded everything. When the flare subsided, silence fell. The chamber was dim now, the monolith stable but scarred. Elias collapsed to one knee, panting. The queen stood over him, her armor dimmed to dull silver. It worked, he said weakly. She nodded, though her expression was unreadable. The heart is contained, but the echo remains. Her gaze fell on him. And part of you is now inside it. He blinked. What? You touched it with a human soul, she said quietly. The heart remembers you. Elias looked down at his hands. Faint lines of light traced his veins, glowing softly. What does that mean? It means, she said, you are no longer entirely yours. Before he could respond, a tremor shook the floor. The queen's head snapped upward. The council, she murmured. They've sensed the interference. We must leave. Elias followed her through a side passage, his mind reeling. His memories felt slippery, edges blurring with strange visions, forests of glass, voices singing in unison, Saratha's laughter echoing through alien skies. They emerged into a narrow balcony overlooking the city. Below, millions of luminous beings moved like a living ocean, unaware their world had nearly ended. The queen leaned against the railing, exhaustion softening her regal bearing. "You should not have risked yourself," she said quietly. "I don't leave people behind," he replied. She glanced at him, faint surprise in her crimson eyes. "Even those who are not your kind?" "Especially those," he said. For the first time she smiled, not cold or calculated, but real. "Perhaps Sarath was right," she murmured. "Perhaps humanity's gift is not defiance, but mercy." Elias exhaled slowly. "Mercy's just defiance with a heart." The queen's smile faded as she looked back toward the palace towers. "The council will not forgive this. They will call it contamination. Then we make them see its salvation," he said. Her gaze lingered on him, as if memorizing his face. "You speak as if hope is a weapon." "It is," he said, "and we're damn good at using it." A shadow passed overhead, sleek aerial constructs gliding in formation. The queen straightened, regal once more. "They come for me," she said. "You must go. Not without you. You cannot fight them." Elias lifted his wrist console, its edges sparking with residual heart energy. "Maybe not the way they expect." The queen tilted her head, studying him. "You intend to challenge the council with corrupted light?" He smiled grimly. "Let's call it enlightened corruption." For a heartbeat, she almost laughed. "Then perhaps there is hope for both our kinds." She touched his chest lightly, her fingers leaving a faint luminescent mark over his heart. "This will shield you from their scanners. Go to the cathedral." Sarath left more than memory there. "What about you?" he asked. "I will buy you time," she said simply. Before he could argue, she turned toward the approaching vessels, her armor igniting in golden flame. "Go, human," she said, her voice echoing with power. "Remember, feeling is not weakness." He ran, her words burning in his mind. Behind him, light erupted as the queen faced her own people's wrath. The city shuddered, its perfect symmetry breaking as if the world itself took a breath. Elias reached the transport docks, commandeering a scout glider. As he lifted off, the skyline flared with energy blasts. Gold against blue, chaos against order. He looked back once, seeing the queen's figure surrounded by light, defiant and alone. "Hold on," he whispered. "I'll find the truth." The glider sliced through the upper atmosphere, engines humming low. The cathedral of glass loomed ahead, a colossal spire rising from a lake of silver mist. Its surface reflected the stars, infinite and silent. As he approached, his wristmark pulsed, guiding him to a landing platform. The moment his boots touched the translucent floor, he felt it, a resonance deep within, calling to the fragment of the heart inside him. "Sarath," he murmured. "What did you leave me?" The answer came as a whisper in his mind. "The dawn you feared." The great doors opened soundlessly, and he stepped into the unknown. Inside, the cathedral shimmered like frozen light. Thousands of crystalline figures lined the walls, echoes of beings long gone. In the center stood a circular dais, and upon it, a single projection of Sarath flickered into being. Her expression was serene, her voice gentle. "Commander Rourke," she said, "if you hear this, the heart still lives, and so does she. But its song is incomplete. You must finish what I began." Elias felt the light within him answering, pulsing faster. "What did you do?" he asked aloud. Her image smiled faintly. "I gave her humanity. Now you must give her choice." The projection dissolved, leaving behind a sphere of light hovering over the dais. Pulsed once and sank into his chest. Pain flared through him like wildfire, but beneath it was understanding. Fragments of alien thought, emotion, and Saratha's lingering love interwoven with his own. He gasped, falling to one knee. "You crazy, beautiful creature," he whispered. "You turned yourself into hope." Above, the cathedral trembled as enemy craft closed in. His console flashed a warning. Approaching forces, weapons primed. Elias stood, eyes burning with determination. "All right," he said softly. "Let's show them what a human heart can do." He raised his hand, light radiating outward, merging with the cathedral's core. Energy rippled across the spire, spreading through the lake below like dawn breaking through glass. For a moment, every ship in the sky paused, their systems faltering under the surge of harmonic resonance. Then the transmission began, not in words, but in feeling. Love, regret, courage, mercy. Across the planet, the heart of Myr awakened, its fractured song weaving with his. And somewhere above, the queen heard it. Her tears fell like stars. The cathedral's pulse faded into a low thrum, like a heartbeat steadying after a long panic. Elias stood still, his hands trembling with the afterglow of alien energy. The air shimmered faintly, the crystalline walls alive with whispers that weren't words but emotions. Grief, wonder, and something like longing. He could still feel Saratha's essence stirring within him, a warmth radiating from the mark over his heart. For a moment, he wasn't sure where his own thoughts ended and hers began. "I'm still me," he whispered aloud, as if reassuring himself. But somewhere inside, a gentle voice answered, "Are you?" He took a slow breath, grounding himself in familiar sensation. The weight of his boots on the glass floor, the distant crackle of electrical discharge from his wrist console. Beyond the cathedral walls, streaks of light marked battles in the sky. He had no time to lose. The queen had said Sarath left more here. Whatever it was, it had to matter more than survival. It had to matter to both their species. He moved toward the center dais where the light had entered him, scanning for residual signatures. The readings danced in chaotic harmonics, too complex for human systems. "Guess we're doing this the hard way," he muttered, kneeling to press his palm to the glass. At once, the surface rippled, and the world around him fell away. He was standing in another place, no, another memory. The cathedral remained, but it shimmered as though submerged underwater. Before him stood Sarath, not as a projection but as a living echo, her eyes softer now, her armor unbroken. "You shouldn't be here yet," she said gently. "You'll burn yourself out." "You left this message for me," Elias said. "I need to understand." She smiled faintly. "You always were stubborn. Even in death, I find that comforting." The words stung. "You're dead," he said quietly. "Then why do I feel you breathing inside me?" "Because part of me refused to die," she said. "I tethered my consciousness to the heart before it fractured. I thought I could teach them love. But I forgot how easily love turns to pain." The memory shadows around her flickered. Images of her kneeling beside Queen Aarkalin. Laughter shared beneath the crystal trees, hands touching briefly before duty tore them apart. "She loved you," Elias said. Saratha's expression was unreadable. "She loved what I reflected in her. But I loved who she tried to become." The images shifted again, showing the queen in council chambers, surrounded by faceless advisors of light. They feared what she was learning. They said emotion would poison her, so they commanded me to erase it. I couldn't. She looked up at him. "So they punished me. They made me her memory, her pain." Elias clenched his fists. "That's why the heart's dying. It's trying to carry both your love and your punishment." Sarath nodded. "And now it carries you too." The realization struck him. "She linked me on purpose," he said. "She wanted me to feel what you did." "Perhaps," Sarath said softly. "Or perhaps she hoped you would do what she could not. Finish what I began." The vision trembled. The heart is unstable because it contains contradiction, order and chaos, duty and desire. To save it, you must give it balance. "How?" he asked. "By giving her choice," she replied. "Show her what it means to live without the heart's control. That could destroy your whole civilization. Or free it," Sarath said. "Freedom always feels like destruction at first." The memory began to dissolve, her form turning to light. "Wait!" Elias shouted. How do I reach her? Her fading voice echoed like a sigh. Follow the light that weeps. He blinked, and the cathedral reformed around him. The air was colder, darker now, streaked with faint streams of light dripping down the walls, like tears frozen mid-fall. Follow the light that weeps. He traced one of the glowing rivulets with his hand. It pulsed in response, flowing downward toward the cathedral's lower chambers. All right, he murmured. Let's see where you lead. The passage beneath spiraled deep into the planet's crust, and as he descended, the atmosphere grew heavy with static. He felt the energy inside him resonate stronger with each step, as though something below was calling his name. The tunnel opened into a vast subterranean vault, a place even older than the palace above. In the center stood a colossal sphere of glass, cracked and weeping light from 1,000 fissures. Suspended within was a shape, a humanoid figure motionless, encased in translucent crystal. Elias's pulse quickened. The armor, the crown, the serene face. It was Queen Kalin, but not as he had last seen her. This version was peaceful, sleeping, her expression almost human. Around her, the light dripped slowly, pooling into streams that formed alien runes on the floor. The Queen's soul, Elias whispered. A backup consciousness. The voice inside him, Saratha's voice, stirred. She divided herself. One self rules. One self dreams. He approached carefully, every instinct on edge. The sphere's energy reacted to his presence, the cracks flaring brighter. If I wake her, he murmured, I could destabilize everything. If you don't, Sarath whispered within him, the false self will consume the world. He hesitated, torn between logic and empathy. Then he remembered the Queen's words. Perhaps there is still something in you worth saving. He placed his hand against the glass. Let's hope you were right. The mark over his heart ignited, and the light flared outward, engulfing him. He was no longer in the vault. He stood in a vast expanse of stars, a mindscape of memories. The Queen appeared before him, radiant but fragile. You shouldn't be here, she said, her voice both steel and sorrow. You've invaded the sanctum of my soul. You left me no choice, he said. Your world's dying. Sarath tried to save it, and you punished her for feeling. Her expression hardened. Feeling made her weak. No, Elias said. It made her strong. It made her you. The Queen's gaze flickered. She infected the heart. You infected me. Is this humanity's purpose? To spread imperfection. To spread compassion, he countered. To remind perfection why it needs imperfection to grow. For a long moment, she said nothing. Then she stepped closer, eyes softening. You sound like her, she whispered. She said those same words before they forced my hand. Elias could see the grief buried in her. You loved her, he said. She didn't deny it. I loved what she awakened, she said. But love is forbidden for those who rule. Then maybe it's time someone broke that rule. Her lips parted as if to reply, but the stars around them began to shatter, reality trembling. They're coming, she said urgently. The council, they sense your intrusion. Then let them come, Elias said. Because I'm not leaving without you. The Queen's eyes widened. You would risk your life for a being you barely know? You're wrong, he said quietly. I know you better than anyone. You hide your heart because it scares you. He reached toward her. But you don't have to be alone anymore. For an instant she hesitated, then took his hand. The connection blazed, merging their thoughts in a torrent of light and emotion. He saw her memories, her coronation, her loneliness, the burden of command. She saw his, the ruined Earth outpost he'd defended, the friends he'd lost, the hope that refused to die. Between them, a new harmony formed, neither human nor alien, but something greater. Then the intrusion hit. Blinding spears of energy pierced the starfield, voices of the council roaring like thunder. Unauthorized link detected. Purge the contagion. The Queen gasped, clutching her head. They're severing the heart. Elias tightened his grip. Hold on. We can override them if we link through me. You'll die, she warned. Maybe, he said, but not before giving you a choice. He pressed his palm to her chest, the same place where Saratha's cracks had glowed, and whispered, choose what you want to be, not what they made you. Light erupted from them both, colliding with the incoming assault. The explosion of consciousness felt endless. When it cleared, Elias was on the ground of the vault again, smoke rising from the cracked glass. The queen lay beside him, alive, her breathing shallow but steady. The sphere that once contained her was gone, dissolved into motes of light that drifted upward like fireflies. Elias, she whispered weakly. He turned to her, relief flooding his chest. You're free, he said. The link's broken. Not broken, she murmured. Changed. She touched his hand. I feel everything. Her love, your pain, my fear. It's beautiful. Tears glistened at the corners of her crimson eyes. What have you done to me? I gave you choice, he said softly. Now you decide what kind of queen you'll be. A distant rumble shook the chamber. The council's forces were breaching the outer vaults. The queen tried to rise but stumbled. Elias caught her, supporting her weight. We need to move. No, she said, looking toward the ceiling where light poured through the cracks. They will destroy us both. But if I connect to the heart now, freely, not bound, I can change its song. Make it choose life. Elias's chest tightened. You'll die. She smiled faintly. Then let my death mean something. There has to be another way. There always is, she said. But not always the right one. She pulled away gently and stepped toward the center of the vault, where the energy streams converged. The ground glowed beneath her feet. Elias reached out helplessly. A.R. Kalin. She looked back, eyes luminous. Tell your people we were never their enemies. We only needed someone to show us how to feel. Then she turned and walked into the light. It enveloped her, brighter and brighter, until it was impossible to look. The entire planet seemed to tremble as the energy surged upward, a new melody resonating through every structure. A song not of obedience, but of freedom. When the brilliance faded, the vault was empty. Only her crown remained, resting where she had stood. Elias fell to his knees beside it, grief and awe mingling in his chest. The mark over his heart flickered once more, then steadied warm, alive. A voice whispered within him, blending Saratha's and the queen's tones together. Thank you. He closed his eyes, letting the tears fall. For the first time, the alien world around him didn't feel distant, felt alive and human. He stood slowly, lifting the crown. You're not gone, he said quietly. You're just part of something bigger now. He turned toward the tunnel, the faint hum of the reborn heart echoing through the stone. The war above was over, or maybe it had just changed shape. Either way, he would face it carrying both their hopes. The queen had chosen to feel, and in doing so, she had changed everything. The surface of Halcyon 9 was no longer silent. As Elias emerged from the tunnels, he found the once perfect city alive with chaos and light. Towers that had once gleamed in flawless symmetry now rippled and bent like molten glass, their rigid lines softened by the pulse of the awakened heart. The sky shimmered with iridescent auroras as the song of rebirth spread across the planet. The air was charged with emotion itself, joy and fear, grief and wonder, woven into a frequency that touched every living mind. Elias felt it brush his consciousness, tender and raw, as if the queen herself were whispering through the atmosphere. They are waking, Elias. Don't let them fall into despair. He moved cautiously through the streets. The alien citizens, once graceful, distant beings of light and logic, now staggered in confusion. Some wept openly, clutching their chests as though discovering pain for the first time. Others knelt, gazing at the sky in trembling reverence. Their eyes glowed with new colors, violet, amber, and human-like green, signs of individuality forming where once there had been uniform perfection. One of them, a young guard he remembered from the palace entrance, approached him uncertainly. Terran, she said, her voice uneven, the words laced with emotion. What did you do? Elias hesitated, unsure how to explain. I didn't destroy your heart, he said gently. I set it free. The guard's expression flickered between fear and awe. It hurts, she whispered. Why does it hurt to feel? Because you're alive now, he said quietly. That's how it starts. The sound of engines roared overhead, council warships descending from orbit, their formation breaking apart as the heart's new resonance scrambled their control systems. Elias tapped his wrist console, linking to the Terran embassy's encrypted channel. Static answered, then a familiar voice crackled through. Commander Rourke, are you alive? Barely, he said. What's your status? Evac fleets holding at high orbit. The Marin ships aren't attacking, but there's chaos down there. What the hell happened? Elias looked toward the horizon, where the palace spire glowed brighter than the sun. A miracle, he said, and maybe the end of an empire. He cut the link and continued toward the palace. The air was alive with shimmering dust, resonant motes drifting like fireflies. As he passed a shattered plaza, he saw two alien children crouched beside a dying vine, their hands glowing faintly as they tried to revive it. When the vine's silver leaves unfurled, they gasped and laughed, a sound so pure that Elias's throat tightened. Saratha's voice stirred softly inside him. They're learning. Yeah, he murmured, but so am I. He reached the palace steps just as the first wave of council enforcers arrived, towering figures encased in dark armor, their weapons pulsing with antimatter light. Their leader's voice boomed through an amplifier. Terran operative. Surrender immediately. Elias exhaled and muttered, Here we go. He ducked behind a fallen column as the first barrage struck, glass shards raining around him. His console flared, adapting the residual energy from the heart's mark. A sphere of light erupted around him, forming a temporary shield. Thanks, Your Majesty, he whispered, feeling her lingering presence in the glow. The enforcers advanced, their steps synchronized, their minds still bound to the old order. Elias triggered the pulse modulator he'd jury-rigged earlier. The shield exploded outward in a cascade of harmonic resonance. Not lethal but overwhelming, waves of raw emotion flooding the soldiers' neural links. They staggered, shouting, some falling to their knees as tears streamed from their eyes. You can feel it, can't you? Elias called out. That's what she gave you, freedom. One of them aimed shakily, voice trembling. Freedom is chaos. No, Elias said, stepping closer. It's choice. The enforcer hesitated, then lowered his weapon. The others followed, confusion breaking their unity. The battle was over before it began. Elias stood among them, exhausted but resolute. Go home, he said. Your queen chose life. Honor her by living. Slowly, the soldiers dispersed, their steps uneven now, no longer bound in perfect rhythm. The silence that followed felt sacred. He turned toward the grand staircase leading to the throne chamber. The golden doors, once guarded by symmetry and fear, stood ajar. Inside, the chamber was transformed. The beam of light that had once dominated the room now pulsed gently, no longer blinding but warm, alive. And there, standing before it, was a figure he recognized even before she turned. A.R. Kalin, he whispered. She looked different. Her armor melted into flowing robes, her skin softly luminous. The mark of the crown had faded, replaced by a faint scar over her heart. You live, he said in disbelief. She smiled faintly. In a way, she said. The heart remade me. Not ruler nor god, but something in between. A bridge. Her voice carried both Saratha's warmth and the Queen's command. You risked everything for me, Elias. Why? He struggled for words. Because someone once said we don't give up on the broken. She approached slowly, her eyes shimmering with layered light. And do you still think I was broken? No, he said. Just unfinished. She laughed softly, a sound that seemed to echo from every corner of the chamber. You humans are strange creatures. You build hope out of ruin. We have to, he said. It's the only way we survive. Her gaze softened. Then teach us. Help my people learn what it means to live as you do. He hesitated. They may hate you for it. They already do, she said, a trace of sadness in her tone. But perhaps hate is only love waiting to understand. They stood together beneath the glowing heart, its rhythm now synchronized with theirs. Elias felt the mark over his chest pulse in harmony. There's something else, he said. The council won't stop. They'll see this as infection. The queen, no, the new being that had once been queen, nodded. Then we must show them its evolution. She raised her hand, and light streamed outward, forming a vast holographic network across the sky. Images of the planet, its people, its rebirth, all transmitted across the empire. Every world connected to the heart will feel this moment, she said. They will know what we have become. That'll make you a target, Elias said. Perhaps, she replied. But truth has always been dangerous. The light spread farther, reaching the upper atmosphere. Elias's communicator buzzed as the Terran fleet picked up the transmission. Commander, what's going on down there? We're getting signals. Emotional resonance. Broadcasting enlightenment, he said with a weary smile. Try not to panic. He cut the link before they could argue. The queen's light flared brighter, and for a heartbeat, he saw her. Not as ruler or savior, but as a being finally at peace. It's beautiful, he murmured. She turned to him, her expression tender. It's the dawn Sereth dreamed of. The mention of her name hit him like a breathless wind. She's still here, isn't she? The queen nodded. She became the seed of this new harmony. Her essence flows through every song the heart sings. Elias felt tears sting his eyes. She'd like that, he said quietly. She would, the queen agreed. And she would tell you to stop blaming yourself. He looked at her, startled. How did you? Because I can feel what she felt for you, she said softly. She admired you, loved you perhaps, in the way humans define it. Elias exhaled, pain and gratitude intertwined. Then I'll carry that with me. Both of you. The ground shook suddenly as energy surged through the city. Waves of resonance spiraling outward. The queen's eyes widened. They're trying to sever the heart from orbit, she said. The council's last defense. Elias swore under his breath. How bad? Catastrophic, she said. If they succeed, the heart will implode. Every mind linked to it will die, including me. Then we stop them, he said. She looked at him as if seeing his soul. You can't fight an orbital weapon with courage. No, he said, but maybe with light. He raised his console, the mark on his chest blazing. You said the heart remembers me. Let's make that memory count. Understanding dawned in her eyes. You intend to link directly. Use your humanity as a conduit. You said it yourself, he replied. Love's a weapon. You'll burn, she whispered. Then I'll burn bright. She hesitated only a moment before pressing her hand over his heart, merging her energy with his. Then let us burn together, she said. Their hands clasped, and the chamber exploded with radiance. A column of energy shot upward, piercing the sky, reaching toward the incoming council weapon. The two of them, human and alien, poured everything into the link, emotion, memory, defiance. The heart responded, amplifying their union, turning feeling into force. From orbit, the council's weapon fired, a beam of sterile, cold annihilation. But the heart's light met it halfway, transforming it into color, into life. Across the heavens, the two forces collided, painting the sky in cascading hues. Every being on Halcyon 9 looked up, feeling the surge within their hearts. The song changed again, rising, unstoppable, alive. And when the beam finally faded, the weapon was gone, dissolved into harmless starlight. Elias collapsed, the mark on his chest dimming. The queen caught him, cradling his head in her lap. Elias, she whispered, stay with me. He smiled faintly. Still think humanity's dangerous? Yes, she said, tears glimmering. But beautifully so. The heart pulsed gently, its glow stabilizing. The city above hummed with new harmony. The queen looked down at him, her expression unreadable. "You've given us a future," she said. "But what of you?" He tried to answer, but his voice faltered. "Doesn't matter," he whispered. "As long as you remember." His eyes fluttered closed, his body limp but peaceful. The queen pressed her forehead to his, whispering a prayer in an ancient tongue. "I will remember," she promised. "Always." The chamber fell silent, save for the soft, steady rhythm of the reborn heart. And within that pulse, a human heartbeat echoed, faint, but unending. The dawn over Halcyon 9 was unlike any the world had ever known. The sky shimmered in ribbons of rose and gold, the remnants of the heart's final pulse drifting like auroras across the horizon. The city below, once flawless and silent, now breathed with life, imperfect, vibrant, awake. Where glass spires had stood rigid, vines now climbed freely, their luminescent blossoms reflecting the new sun. The air carried a chorus of unfamiliar sounds. Laughter, crying, music, emotions released after millennia of restraint. And in the quiet heart of the palace, beneath the still glowing beam of living light, Elias Rourke stirred. He awoke to the sound of a soft voice humming near him. His body felt heavy, every muscle aching as if he'd fought a storm. The floor beneath him was warm, alive with faint vibrations from the heart below. "Welcome back, Commander," said a familiar tone. He blinked his eyes open and saw her, the queen or what she had become. Her form shimmered with threads of gold and blue, neither wholly solid nor ethereal. She looked human and alien both, beauty shaped by two worlds. "How long was I out?" he croaked. "3 rotations," she said gently. "Your body wasn't meant to bear so much light, but the heart wouldn't let you go." He managed a weak laugh. "Guess it's sentimental." "No," she said, kneeling beside him. "It's grateful." He sat up slowly, glancing around. The throne chamber was transformed. Where once the cold perfection of empire ruled, now the air thrummed with warmth. Symbols of the old order, emblems of logic and hierarchy, had been replaced by living crystal murals, shifting with every breath of emotion from those nearby. "The heart survived," he murmured. "Because you did," she said. "You anchored it with something we had never known before, sacrifice without calculation." Elias rubbed his temples. "That's humanity for you. We break ourselves to fix things we care about." Her expression softened. "And in doing so, you taught us how to live." She helped him to his feet. Outside the great windows, the alien world looked reborn. He could see people gathering in the plazas, not in lines of order but in circles of conversation and song. "They're changing fast," he said. "They're feeling everything for the first time. That's dangerous." "It is," she agreed. "But necessary. Every birth is dangerous." Elias turned to her, studying the flicker of light in her eyes. "And you? What are you now?" She smiled faintly. "Not queen, not God, just A.R. Kalin, the first of many. Many. Others are awakening," she said. "Other rulers, other hearts. They feel the resonance spreading through the network. It will not stop here." He frowned. "You mean this evolution could reach the entire empire?" "It already has," she said. "You lit the match, Elias. Now we will see what burns and what endures." They walked together through the palace, its corridors alive with motion. Servants who once moved in silent precision now spoke softly to one another, voices trembling with uncertainty and wonder. Some bowed as the two passed. Others simply smiled. The Queen, A.R. Kalin, met each gaze with quiet warmth, as if rediscovering what it meant to be seen. "They trust you," Elias said. "They fear me," she corrected. "But they're learning that fear and awe can be the same breath." She glanced at him. "Will your people understand what we've done here?" He hesitated. "The brass back home? Probably not. They'll see a political crisis, maybe a threat." "And you?" she asked. "What do you see?" He looked at the sky beyond the glass. "I see a beginning." As they approached the main courtyard, a group of children ran past, alien but laughing like human kids discovering play for the first time. One stopped to offer Elias a glowing petal, his small hand trembling. Elias knelt, taking it gently. "Thank you," he said. The boy smiled, then darted off. Archelin watched, her expression tender. "They were born into silence," she said. "Now the world sings to them." Elias pocketed the petal carefully. "Then we'd better make sure the song doesn't turn into noise." She nodded. "That's why I need you." He blinked. "Me? You are the bridge now, Elias. My people need a guide who understands both logic and feeling. You've carried the light of two souls within you, mine and Saratha's. You know what we cannot yet name." "I'm no teacher," he said. "I'm a soldier." "Then teach them what soldiers learn," she said. "That courage is not obedience. That duty without compassion is just fear wearing armor." Her words struck deep. "You really think they'll listen to a human?" "They already are," she said simply. "They follow what they feel. And you gave them feeling." Elias looked away, overwhelmed. "I didn't plan any of this." "Neither did Sarath," she said. "But love rarely asks permission." Her mention of the maid's name lingered between them like sacred air. Elias touched the mark over his heart. It glowed faintly. "She's still here," he murmured. "Both of you are." "We are echoes," Archelin said. "But echoes can become songs." They stood in silence, the world's new rhythm surrounding them. Then, from the distant horizon, came the low hum of approaching ships. Archelin turned sharply, eyes narrowing. "Terran fleet," she said. "Your people are coming." Elias activated his console. "Yeah, they probably think I'm dead. Or compromised." "What will you tell them?" she asked. He exhaled. "The truth. That humanity didn't just survive here, we changed everything." She smiled faintly. "And if they fear what you've done? Then I'll remind them that fear means we're still learning." The fleet descended in cautious formation, ships gleaming against the newborn light. Elias stood at the forefront of the courtyard, Archelin beside him. A Terran shuttle broke from the formation and landed nearby, its engines stirring the silver dust into swirling patterns. When the ramp lowered, a squad of armored Marines emerged, weapons ready but uncertain. Their commander, Admiral Hayes, stepped forward, visor retracting. "Rourke," he said, half incredulous. "You're supposed to be dead." "Sorry to disappoint," Elias said, offering a wry grin. Hayes looked past him at Archelin. "And that's her?" "The Queen was," Elias corrected. "Now she's something else." The Admiral's eyes hardened. "Our sensors show massive energy anomalies across the system." "What did you do?" "We woke them up," Elias said simply. "They're not machines anymore. They're people." Hayes frowned. "That's not our mission. We were sent to ensure diplomatic containment." Elias stepped closer, his tone steady. "Containment's not an option anymore. They've changed. You can either fight what's coming or learn from it. And if they turn hostile? They won't," Archelin said, her voice calm but commanding. The Marines flinched at the sound, not from threat but reverence. "We have no need for conquest. We seek understanding." Hayes stared between them. "You're speaking like equals." "We are," Elias said. "That's the point." The Admiral hesitated, the weight of centuries of distrust flickering across his face. Finally, he sighed. "You've rewritten the rulebook, Rourke." "Good," Elias said. "It was overdue." As negotiations began, Archelin addressed the Terran delegation directly, her words resonating through both translator and emotion. "Your kind showed us that imperfection is not weakness but creation. You gave us chaos, and through it we found our souls." The delegates listened in stunned silence. Elias watched, pride and humility warring within him. He thought of Sarath, of the tears that had begun this all. One woman's sorrow had become the salvation of two species. "Humans are dangerous," he remembered her saying, "because we hope." And now hope was spreading across galaxies. Days turned to weeks as the new alliance took shape. Joint teams of human and Marin scientists worked side by side, studying the heart's energy as a source of shared consciousness. Artists began to collaborate, blending alien light forms with human music. The once isolated empire became a chorus of experimentation and discovery. Yet amid the progress, Elias sometimes found himself standing alone in the Queen's garden, staring at the silver blossoms that hummed with faint harmonics. It was there he felt her presence most strongly. Sereth, the maid who had dared to teach a goddess to love. "We did it," he whispered once into the wind. The blossoms shimmered softly, answering in their own way. On the third week after the dawn, Arcalen joined him in the garden. She wore no crown, only a simple cloak of woven light. "You still come here," she said. "It reminds me of her," he said. "And of you." She smiled. "Perhaps we are not so different after all." They stood in silence, listening to the gentle hum of the vines. Then she said, "Elias, there will come a time when this world will not need you." He nodded slowly. "That's the goal, isn't it?" "Yes," she said softly. "But until then, stay. Help them learn what you taught me." "What's that?" he asked. "That mercy is the highest form of courage." Her words settled between them like sunlight. As twilight fell, the first stars appeared, no longer distant, but full of promise. Elias turned toward them, feeling both the weight and the wonder of what had begun. "You think they'll come?" he asked. "The others, the ones still ruled by the council?" "They will," she said. "And when they do, we'll show them not the power of the heart, but the strength of a human one." He smiled faintly. "Then I guess I'd better stick around." "Yes," she said, her eyes glowing like dawn. "After all, you're part of us now." And in that moment, Elias understood what she meant. The light that once burned within him no longer felt foreign. It was harmony, shared and enduring. As night deepened, the world of Halcyon 9 glowed softly, a living testament to what compassion could build from ruin. Somewhere in the cosmic distance, the old council still stirred, fearful of what they could no longer control. But here, under twin moons and a sky reborn, humans and Marins worked together, not as conquerors or subjects, but as equals. The garden whispered with memory. The heart's pulse echoed like a promise. And Elias Rourke, once a soldier of Earth, now stood as something else entirely. A bridge between species, a keeper of light born from tears. He looked at the horizon where the auroras danced and felt peace. For the first time in history, two civilizations had chosen to feel rather than fear. The cost had been immense, but the reward was everything. Sereth's words returned to him, soft as breath. "You taught us hope." He smiled and whispered into the wind. "No, you taught us love." The petals around him shimmered, glowing in response, and the stars above seemed to sing. Humanity had come to the stars seeking survival, and had instead given the galaxy a soul.